You are now listening to the I Think I Love My Wife podcast. And this is your best friend's best friend, Chidozie Okafor, ready to take you on another journey. Are you with me? Because I'm ready. Let's get it. In this episode, we talk about long-distance relationships, how to address conflict and build a solid foundation within them. We discuss the importance of asking a lot of questions to get on the same page and of supporting your partner's interest. We uncover challenges in relationships that stem from juggling demanding lifestyles while being there emotionally for your partner. And we also explore dating and what that looks like when you don't want anything serious. Hey, what's going on, people? I'm here with a good friend of mine, Anthony. I appreciate you for joining us today.
No problem.
I've known Anthony since 2014?
Yeah.
When you moved to Dallas?
Yeah, I moved there in 2014. Yeah, that's
so
right. Almost
about 5 years now.
Yeah.
I feel like Anthony has a really great story and one that various people can relate with. But before we go dive deep into it, I want to toast. I'm like we do in every episode. And this toast is to love, unity, and the teamwork it takes to sustain a relationship. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
This is at Highland Park 12. Pretty smoky and smooth.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And so we want to just get right into it and give the listeners some context to just your relationship and where you're at with it and who you are. So how long have you known your wife?
So we've known each other for about 4 years. We met back in August of 2015. Is that right?
So you said 4 years?
Yeah, just about 4 years. So
okay, so 4 years. How long did you guys date before you proposed?
Oh man, I proposed in April of 2018. So a little over 2 years, I guess.
Okay, so y'all dated for about 2 years and then
Yeah.
you proposed. And how long have you guys been married?
We've only been married for a couple months now.
We got months of newlyweds.
Yeah, newlyweds.
Does it feel different?
It does, surprisingly. A lot of people. I mean, we'll get into this, but we have a 2.5-year-old, so obviously we had a kid before we got married. But getting married actually feels different. It actually feels good. I don't know what it is. It's hard to put like a label or words on it, but even the moment, everything went down and wearing a ring every day is actually makes me feel a little bit different in some ways. So
cool. And I want to make sure that we spend time talking about that because I think you might be the first person that says it feels different from like the whole engagement to marriage process. And so what do you do for a living?
I'm an attorney.
You're an attorney. And what about your wife?
And my wife works in higher education.
Works in higher education. Yeah. And so one of the things I like to get context to is just what was your perspective like or upbringing like? And so when you think about your parents and their marital status, what does that look like?
My parents?
Yeah.
Oh, my parents, they've been married for 35 years.
To 35 years?
Yeah, 35 years so far.
And both of them, you grew up with both of them, right?
Grew up with both of my parents. I grew up first generation Haitian. Both my parents born and raised in Haiti, and they moved here a long time ago. But yeah, they got married 35 years ago. Been together ever since. Obviously it hasn't been easy, but they're still together.
No relationship is perfect. And what about your wife?
Our wife, both our parents are married. And I don't know how long they've been married. Probably a little bit longer than my parents.
So over 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you already mentioned it. You guys have a 2.5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Little linebacker.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's just jump right into it and tell us, what do you love about your wife?
Man, what's not to love, I guess. She's just, like the term ride or die, like that's really what she's about when it comes to our relationship. And one of the many things that has attracted me to her from the beginning. She's always there when I need her. Really, no questions asked. And whether it's for us, our son, like I know I can count on her 100%. So that's I don't even know. I don't know how you describe that quality, but it's beyond the idea of just like loyalty.
So
she's
reliable,
dependable, and whatever it is, good or bad, like she's gonna be there and not kind of shy away when shit hits the fan. Can I swear on this?
You can say whatever you want. Okay, and so some of the attributes you mentioned, some people may argue, are like these are standard attributes that you would hope to find in a partner. Given that context, right? Your answer may be the same, but I'd like to ask this question. What makes her special? At least to you.
Man. I mean, the answer is still the same. I'm trying to think of like an example that would kind of maybe highlight that, because I mean, you meet a lot of people who are, reliable, but to a degree, or loyal to a degree. But this kind of, the unconditional aspect of it, really makes a difference. And at least what I see in whether it's other people, past relationships, or even like family members, where obviously people are always going to be there for you when it's convenient, or maybe even when it benefits them. But I think it's hard to find people who are genuinely and unconditionally going to love you and be there for you, whether it's a Monday afternoon, a Saturday weekend, or whatever it is. And I don't know. For me, I think it's really hard to find that quality in people. But she definitely has it.
Would you say, you talked about, I guess, her unconditional love, how dependable, you called her a rider. Did you notice all that up front? Or people may say, hey, he's married, so obviously. So speak more to like, when did you notice it? Was it something she was showing you from jump? Did it happen over time, and there was an incident that proved it or demonstrated it more than the day-to-day stuff?
Yeah, I don't know if there was a specific moment in time. Like when we met, our I guess our story is a little bit different. But I'll wait for you to. We can get into like the story, but
tell us your story.
Well, so we met through a mutual friend. One of my really good friends that I went to college with knew her while she was living in New York and I was living in Dallas. So, and, I was we were both single at the time, and I just started kind of working at a law firm, and I was super busy. So I think I had her number for a while, but it really wasn't until like August of 2015 where we started at least exchanging messages and started talking, but we haven't really met. We like FaceTime and all that. But I think I was in New York visiting my sister, and we finally met Labor Day weekend. And then we kind of literally have been together ever since. But, our first, I guess 10 months of our relationship was long distance. And we were fortunate enough to basically see each other, at least it seemed like every weekend or every other weekend, flying from New York to Dallas. But, I think one of the benefits, I think, of being long distance is that you do talk a lot, and you're able to hopefully learn about each other through, obviously asking questions, but learning just about how they are with their family and their friends, their past, and XYZ. And for me, it was really just kind of learning more about her through her experiences to figure out at least the type of person that she was telling me she was. But, like all of us, you just, through our experiences together, through whatever things that I went through or things that she's gone through, I could see it firsthand. And then, I don't know. There wasn't like a moment in time, but it was more of just obviously our experiences together that really showed me the type of person she was. I guess that I don't want to say the negative part of it is that, the other side of it is that, you can, I'm trying to say this without pissing her off, but like,
keep it as real as possible.
I mean, if you get on her bad side, I think it's, she can She is like, I'm the type of person, like, if we have a beef or something goes on, I like to resolve it up front. And we may not be as close together in the future, but we'll always, and I don't think anybody in my life has done me so wrong that I just cut you off completely. Yeah, but my wife, I think, she'll give 150%, but if you do her wrong, it's like,
just like
you're
that.
done. You're done. Like, it's
not a big conversation.
I think you can have a conversation, but it's hard to come back from that. That's just my observation with her, is that, I think she doesn't have the, I think we value our time in our relationships, especially at this age. So she's just like, all right, I'm done with you, and just moves on. And
so for context, how old were you all when you guys met?
So when we met, I was 30 or 31. I was 30 and I turned 31, and she was 34.
So you're the older one.
Yeah.
So she definitely knows what she wants.
Right.
And so I know it feels like we're jumping around, but I want to kind of stay on some of the topics we're talking about. And so you guys are in your early 30s and you're doing long distance. And I am not a big proponent of long distance, not in the sense that it doesn't work. I just think it's hard. And as a person that thinks that it takes a long time to trust people, for me, it's hard to build those experiences the way you need to, in my eyes, to build that trust, right? Mm-hmm. And so how did you guys build the trust? Because some people will say, or I've heard people say, with long distance, some of the things that you have issues with, you don't want to fight about, because when you see each other, you want to make the most of it. And so you don't talk about those things, or you don't make them a big deal. How do you deal with some of the conflict, or what are some of the issues that you guys faced as just being in a long distance relationship, and how did you guys overcome those?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't, I wouldn't say easy. And obviously we had our issues or things that came up, and for me, I like to address things as soon as they come up, because it's the easy. Logically, if you address it sooner, it'll be easier to resolve and move on, as opposed to letting things build up and letting everybody or each person kind of work through the problem or the issue in their head, and then it kind of meets a head, and then everybody just blows up. So if things come up, I'm just like, we need to, talk this out and just kind of move on. And for me, that was easy to do over the phone. Maybe not so easy for my wife at the time, and I think that was probably one of the issues that came up, was not addressing things when they kind of first showed up. But even though we were long distance, we both worked so much that it almost seemed like we were in the same city. I had a roommate at the time, and it was his expectation every weekend that she would be in town. Because for whatever reason, this was back in 2015, Southwest just started direct flights from Dallas to New York. Gotcha. And tickets were less than $50 each way. And based on our schedules, either I would fly out there Friday night, leave Monday morning, go straight to work, or she had days off during the week and would just fly. I could be there Monday, and then she could fly in Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday night, and then leave Thursday morning or something weird. So we were seeing each other multiple times a month. So even though we were long distance, I think we saw over that kind of 10-month period, we saw each other more than some people see each other that live in the same city. So it was we joke all the time that Southwest made our relationship work. Yeah, because if it wasn't for that, the flights were so cheap. But people thought she lived here. She was here so much.
But it is Southwest. It seems like Southwest helped, right? It made things easier. But if that wasn't the case, right? If that wasn't the case where you weren't seeing her as much, do you think it would have still progressed the same way? And or for some people, $50, $75 a week is a lot of money to just on flights. It's not even whatever else happens, right? And so, were there things that, like I'm trying to put myself in a guy's perspective, and you talked about flued out and all these other things, but I think most guys are like has to have a level of discernment of this person's quality, or I really enjoy the time that I'm spending with this person before they are making those kind of investments. And so what did it take for you to get there, or was it just when you guys first met, you knew?
Well, I think there's a lot of different things. Like, one, for me, I think we both, but I'll speak for myself. I lived in Dallas, and people who live here, like, it's easy, I think, to meet people, whether you want to date or just meet new friends. Or it's relatively easy. I mean, it's not easy, but if you want to put yourself out there, you could do it. And me personally, I just had a bad experience. I just thought people weren't as, like, I wasn't finding anything. I wasn't really looking, but it wasn't a good situation for me dating wise. And actually met some really bad people. So it was good to have someone that was like obviously a friend that I trust. Say, look, here's someone
you vouch for this person already.
Right. So he's like, she's got her stuff together. You're not going to have. He's not. And we joke that she's older, but like for me, I don't think you have to be a certain age to be mature. But I mean, logically, hopefully, you've lived some life and you know what you want. So, and you're not living in this world where you're constantly, having issues about careers or what your trajectory is, or there's this intimidation factor or whatever it is, because we're both already at an age where we've gone to school, we've done a lot of things we want to do, and now we know what we want.
You're kind of assured of yourself and where you're trying to go at that point.
So having someone vouch for her, and then obviously we talked, and she's doing what she wants to do, and a lot of the the things that you learn about a person in the first couple of weeks, I think, was fast tracked for us in terms of building some of the trust, because I trust my friend. And then I think we just had a natural connection because we spoke over the phone and FaceTime for about a month before we actually met. So that, I think for us, that was good to build some of that foundation of trust. And then when it came to actually seeing each other, it only compounded that chemistry, and we just wanted to obviously see each other even more. So,
and that makes sense to me. I'm trying to put things in the context of, what for people that are listening or might be in the situation, and help them understand, what was going on in your head. Mm-hmm. The way I see it from what we've talked about, and correct me if I'm wrong, at this point, you're looking for something serious in a relationship, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm not. If I'm dating someone, it's not just at that point.
Yeah, at that time when you met her, you were looking for something serious.
Right.
And so you meet this individual, vouched for by your friend. So there's some level of assurance or confidence in who she is, that you don't have to be as maybe nitpicky in terms of trying to figure her out.
Right.
And she lives in New York. You're in Dallas. You also have like a real ass job,
right,
that requires a lot of hours. And I think sometimes people don't understand from a mental standpoint, like how challenging that is while also trying to be there for someone. Mm-hmm. And I can imagine how hard that is, especially early on when you don't know how vested you are in the relationship, to be there for someone. And you talked about long distance, you're on the phone a lot. And so I can just think of hours and hours of talk time where you can't work, you're not doing other things that you need to do. And so, like, what's going on in your head to want to invest that amount of time, or be able to make the choices of, well, I won't be able to work this much, or I might have to sacrifice this because that talk time is important.
I think from what I remember during the time, which seems so long ago, it wasn't. We both had pretty demanding jobs during the day, and we talk. We probably text during the day, but we really just talked at night. And because she had a lot of responsibilities and worked in higher education, so there's kids coming out of her office and things like that, and she had to travel a lot. So for us, I think the situation that we were in lended itself where we both respected each other's work schedule. And at the time, because we both knew like we got to obviously get our stuff done. And I was just starting out at that point.
So you're grinding. Like,
right. So, that was kind of my life where it was just kind of work. And then, and I knew like this is only temporary, it wasn't this, but it would be worth it if it worked out, which it did. And it's like any relationship, there's always this level of investment at the beginning because you're going to either see them or be on the phone with them, even if you're in the same city. But I think you just, I mean, I think if you have, I think a lot of people meet someone through a mutual friend, and if they're vouching for that person, like you said, it gives you that level of assurance where, I may not be vetting the situation as I would someone I just randomly met. And then you can move on to kind of the next level of getting to know that person. Again, it's not easy because you ask questions and you want to, everybody puts on their best selves the first couple weeks.
Exactly. And so how do you person vouches, great person, right? Stand up person. But I think when you're looking for a partner, there's like two parts of it. One, is this person decent at minimum? And then two, does this person work for me? And so you got the vouching part on decency, but you're trying to figure out if it works for you. But like you said, everybody's putting on their best face, and there's a level of interest. So you don't know. And so how do you get that information or distinguish that, from like what's a front versus, what is real?
I mean, a part of it, I think, just because of the profession that I'm in. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I ask a lot of questions and I create a narrative to, whatever, to do what I need to do at work. But, and I don't necessarily do that in live, but like I ask a lot of questions, and a lot of it too, you can only lie for so long.
True.
Like you're going to get caught at some point, and, presumably older, if when you're a little bit older, you realize that, and you're like, this is who I am. I'm just going to be myself because I don't want to put on, you can't put on a front for years. It's going to come out. So, I tend to be, or at least I think I am, very honest about who I am and what my likes and dislikes. And I probably exaggerated to a point because I'm like, if you don't like my vibe, you don't like the way that I am, then I'll figure that out by your responses. So I think that's, I don't want to call it a strategy, but it's more like, okay, I've accepted who I am, and I think I'm a pretty cool person, but like, I know I have my quirks, and I know some people don't rock with me because of whatever it is that they just like, I can't. And I'm like, that's cool. That's fine. But I'm not going to change who I am to make you happy. But I think you can, that's probably more of a gauge is I think being yourself probably too much, and then figuring out how they respond to it, because some people are just like, yeah, it's weird, or I'm not
rocking with it.
I'm just not really rocking with you because that's, whatever. And I like, my thing is like I like to do quote unquote different things, but I just like to try new things or that some other people might think are weird, like doing a triathlon or something like that. Something I've never done before. Where some people are like, well, I'm never going to try that. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna figure out how to do it, train for it, and then
just to push yourself in that space.
Yeah, and then like my wife, for example, she's not going to do it, but she will support me in like 110%. And like every new thing that I've tried, whether it's been since I've met her, like marathon, triathlon, or whatever, like she is at every checkpoint. She's at like every, she's waking up at 4 a.m. to get, to start the race, and she's there with our son too, cheering me on like 110%. So she, even though it's not her thing to participate as someone who's actually competing or whatever it is that I'm choosing to do, she's
not creating barriers for you to continue to do those things.
Right.
And if anything, she's supporting you and to make it, I guess, more enjoyable, easier for you to do it.
We were at a wedding a couple weeks ago, and we met another married couple. And they've been married for probably longer than us. And I was talking to the husband, and he was saying that he's into these long century rides, and that they have one in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so my wife was like, yeah, let's plan on doing this. I think it's sometime in May. And she's already kind of like planning out where, what stops. I don't even think there are stops, but like how she can be there to cheer and, our son and things like that. But then the other dude's wife was just like basically trying to figure out a way not to participate, which is fine. Like, and I get it. She's probably just like, it's not her thing.
She brings some other things to the table.
Right. So, and I'm not like trying to critique their marriage or anything. It was just not her thing. So, but for me, like, I don't even know if that was like an important thing, but it's just the fact that that's what, I have is because of the things that I like to do or new things that I like to try, in that not only is she like supportive of it, but she's like literally there kind of every step of the way and cheering me on is even more important. It's just another reason why I think I love her so much.
And it sounds like you have a person in your life that for the things that are important to you or that you really enjoy doing, not only does she support you, but she's almost proactive in a way to some of them, like it was her doing it herself in terms of how she approaches it and supportive of it.
Right.
And so some of what you talked about was the fact that your work schedule was demanding. You guys kind of respected that aspect of it. Everybody's not like that. Some people, you meet people in different seasons. You have a more demanding job than the person you're with. And some people require more attention. If it was one of those situations where, like, let's say her job wasn't as demanding or she required more attention, would it be something you guys could navigate, or how would you have been able to proceed, or it just wouldn't have worked?
It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked for me at the time, or probably ever, just because I think there has to be, for me and my personality, a level of independence. And I think most people get there, and I think that's part of maturing as a person. And I think people always say that men, women mature quicker than men. I don't know if that's true or not, but like for me, my parents were like pretty much when I was 18, they were always there supporting me, whether financially through college and things like that. But I was kind of like on my own. So for me, I was like really independent. I think when I was probably 22, I moved, to the Midwest and was literally there by myself, didn't know anybody, and had to learn on the fly and figure things out. So I've been pretty independent, for me, it seems like a very long time. So taking care of someone else, or someone who is that would require the level of like attention that some people require, that it just would have never worked out. And I think it was pretty clear, and I think you could figure that out relatively quick at this age when you start talking with people, or even you guys go on a few dates, like that's something I think you could pick up. And she was clearly, obviously, she's not from New York and was doing her own thing and was pretty independent, which I think for me was key. So, but I think it would be hard if you have a demanding job that's requiring you to be like physically be there, or if you're traveling, and then on top of that doing long distance and having someone who is like requiring a certain amount of time from you, or else it's going to create issues. Personally, I think that's a setup for failure.
You think that in general, or do you think that like just for you?
I guess it always, everything depends on the person. Like if you're the type of person that wants to be in a situation like that, then maybe that will work. But generally, I think, for me for sure, but in general, it's just too much, because something's got to give, and either you're going to give in your relationship or you're going to give in your career.
And I totally agree with you, because I've been in situations and doing management consulting and traveling all the time, and just the hours. It's a lot of mental capacity that you are giving to your job. And I think in certain, especially professional services, where it's like billable hours, it's client facing. Mm-hmm. There's just people don't get it. Like, it's not your typical job that you see on TV or whatnot. And so people don't really get what those hours look like. And so being pulled in that direction for so long, and that I guess mental fortitude that it takes for that, and then now you have someone else's you have to care about someone else's cares, worries, wants. I think sometimes people don't realize how much of a burden it can be. And I don't say burden in like a negative way, but it's weight. Right. Like when you're carrying, like when you're supposed to be there for someone, and take the relationship out of it, a friend, and they're going through something, you're carrying weight. And I think sometimes, you said maturity, but I think sometimes people don't realize, especially like women that are more communicative generally, that are more emotionally generally, they tend to, when they find a person that they trust or in that capacity, share more. And so I'm trying to figure out the best way to communicate. Like, if this is a woman that's listening to this and she knows she's expressive and things like that, how does she gauge you being her person and you in some ways supposed to be there for her in that capacity with, hey, I want to respect your job. I want to respect your time and your independence. How does someone juggle that?
Man, that's tough. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because, and this is all, from experience, because it's like I said before, I haven't met my wife. Like you meet people. I met people in Dallas, and there was just a level of, like you said, I don't know if they just didn't get it, or they didn't care, or just they just weren't there to really understand kind of what you're battling through. Part of it too, and then again, putting myself back to the beginning of my career, it's like, you've spent, whether it's business school or law school, 2 or 3 years, and then before that, 4 years, and you might have worked. So you've like worked so hard to get to this point, and then you get to this point, and you want to do well, but you also want to live life. And then if you have someone that's like, well, all that stuff that you did doesn't matter because I need to be number one in your life. And you need to drop everything. I think there's levels to it, right? Yeah. And I'm not saying that I'm, it's hard to describe in words. I think you have to have a level of independence and assurance that, whatever that relationship is, that person is not treating you, is not necessarily, because I'm trying to figure out what the root of that would be. And men do this too. I mean, I don't want to generalize.
Yeah, you can go either way. Yeah.
Because I have some friends that are very that are guys that have been in the past or still are just, I don't know, clingy or needy, or it's like they need to, the other person needs to,
be available
to them at any moment. At the detriment of their work or whatever it is, or their family. And I think there's a balance to it, and it's for me, it's not that I am pushing, or at the time I would be like, I'm focusing on work and then you come second. It's more of like, okay, how we can figure out how to make this work that all of our needs are being met. And it's hard to say that it's a balance because it's not. Like, people, work-life balance is always a thing in the legal profession. There's no balance, indicates that there is
nothing falls.
Right?
Everybody gets the same amount of love.
And it really just depends on what's going on that time. And you sacrifice a lot of things. You will sacrifice work for the other person, and maybe you may sacrifice something in that moment because work just demands it. And I think just understanding that is key, and understanding that just because I might be going to trial and I'm just stressed out that something that's going on with you, I just can't give it as much as attention as I want to in that moment. But if you understand that, I feel like my wife has and continues to understand that it's just because this is the situation.
It's not personal, or
right.
Not from a lack of care. It's
right.
It's a function of, when I look at competing priorities, and I think that's probably the best way to describe it, I got all these priorities. In this moment, this trial is going on now, or this whatever is the most pressing thing right now. This is the fire.
Right.
I want to take care of this, but in a week, you'll still be there, right?
Right.
and communicating that, or I think you're saying it's easier when that person is able to recognize those things,
Right.
and you don't have to you're not putting a business to pick,
Right.
They make it a little bit easier.
Right.
And so you touched upon this, and I want to dive deep on this as much as possible because I want this to be helpful for people that are not only in marriage or in a serious relationship, but that are dating. I mean, you came to Dallas 2015.
14.
14. Mm-hmm. And so you were single before you met your wife for like
couple years.
Couple years.
Yeah.
What was the dating scene like? And how was that? Because you were dating in the probably nexus or the beginning of Tinder, all these apps, probably before they were as common, but people were using them. What was the experience like?
I think Dallas, I mean, for me, coming here, I had to take the bar. So that was like my priority, studying for the bar and then making sure I passed the bar and starting a new job and then doing well. So for me at that point, in my mind at least, was like, I'll meet people, I'll date, whatever that means. But work is going to be like my priority. And at that time, I really wasn't looking for anything serious. But I think generally at the time in Dallas, I don't think I ever used the dating apps because they were pretty new and I knew people were using them.
It's not like a stigma at that time about, so let's say you met someone like on Tinder or whatever. People were hesitant to say, I met this person.
Right. But now I have a friend. We went to her wedding and they met people.
Now it's like table stakes. But what was it like in the sense of you talk about, okay, you're new to a city, and I would imagine, especially a place like here, you have no history with nobody's friends in the area, so you're like a catch in some regards. But you're focused on your grind. You said taking a bar, new job. You're dating, so you're not meeting people at all. You're dating, but in your mind, I have these priorities, and this is just kind of for fun when I have time.
Right.
I'm sure that the women you're meeting or come into contact with are not thinking the same thing, or maybe not all of them. And so how do you navigate that where you know what it is and trying to keep them aligned to that, or having conversations when they're not aligned to that and they may want more?
I mean, I think anybody who's been in the situation, you tell yourself that you're up front, quote unquote, and you let them know what the deal is. But I don't think it matters. I think people are going to feel the way they feel. And
why do you say it doesn't matter?
Meaning, like, I always have the disclaimer, like, I'm not looking for anything serious, or, this is like, I'm not getting in a relationship. This is like, I'm just meeting people. I'm going out on the weekends. I want to have fun, and like, that's it. And I'm gonna focus on work. I mean, at that time I was working 7 days a week, so like, it literally is like leaving work, go out.
I remember a couple times I see you said like we meet you out,
right?
Work stuff, and then you go back and do work
and then I'll go back. Like, it was, and it was necessary. And like, for me, it was good to get that foundation career wise, because then it allows me to do what I do now. But dating wise in Dallas, I just think it's, it was fine. I think it's very easy. I think as a young professional in general, it's easy to meet people. A young black professional, it's super easy. And, but
let's call it what it is. Like, if you're in a lot of cities, and we'll use Dallas, that's where we are. If you're a young black male with a pretty decent job,
in Dallas, if you're a young black male with a job, yeah, let's say apparently,
job, there are a lot of options out there for you,
right?
And you can agree with me or disagree, but a lot of the women, especially around 26 plus, are looking for something serious, and so more likely than not, you're meeting people that want to be serious, and they are seeing you as, hey, this is a great candidate amongst a lot of people that are not,
right?
And so what happens often is that they're trying to lock you down once they realize it. And so you meet girl A out, y'all cool, get the number. When do you tell them this? Like, from jump, hey, I'm getting your number, but I don't want the serious.
From jump.
As you get her number, you're like, yo, I don't want the serious. But
maybe not then, but
or is it first date? Like, how does it? And I'm asking and I'm pushing you because if a guy is out there, and he's in a similar boat, he's freshly minted, got a good job. He's getting all this attention from women. He might not be at the point where he wants to get married or is looking for something serious. Like, what do you recommend? Like, how does it work? What should he do?
Look, if you figure it out, let me know. I mean, I just think you could, for your own self, for their own self benefit. Like for me, you could justify the outcome, which is usually going to be bad. Like it's like everything's fun until it gets serious, and then you're like, all right, it's time to move on, and then and I don't want to say it turns out bad, but someone's unhappy.
Yeah.
And that is, I would say, the outcome 9 times out of 10.
And so
the for me, it was in my mind thinking back to it, it was always justified to be like, well, like you were put on notice that like this was not going.
So you can't really can't be mad at me,
right?
And so, assuming it probably happened in the first few encounters that you guys had, there was a conversation led by you, I'd imagine, of hey, this is what it is, da 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 da.
Right. Then it's always like, yeah, cool, like it's fine.
So you're like proceed at your own risk,
pretty much. But then, like, obviously, if everything's working out, you know, they're not going to be like, okay, well, then we got to end it now because I'm looking for something serious. I presume in their mind, and this is any situation. I know, like men or women, where women are in the situation where they're like, I don't want anything serious, but the guy is like, all right, cool, and it works out until it gets serious, and then they're the person who is agreeing to the situation is either one, they're literally okay with it, but then they just catch feelings, or they're like, I'm going to change their mind because I'm going to be so great. And I think sometimes that works. But sometimes that works. But sometimes it doesn't. If the other person is not even open to the idea of something serious, then like it is very, very hard, I think, to change their mind because they're just not. You're not, you know, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go at night, like you're not thinking about that. You just move differently, or you're like you said, your priorities are different. And then if you're someone, I think any relationship, you're going to have to require some level of attention to the other person. If that's not even like, you know, top 5 on their list of things that they got to do in a day, it's just a setup for failure. But, you know, so the advice is, you know, is once it gets to the point where the other person, when you all are clearly not on the same page, you got to end it and keep it moving. Don't drag them along because it's not fair to them, and it's only gonna end up bad for you, I think, or make you feel bad temporarily.
Keyword temporarily. But okay, sounds great, right? But as a man, right? We're as men talking, right? Looking back, and you see the situations where you knew what it was, communicated it, and you said it. You know, you said 9 times out of 10, it's going to end up with someone not getting what they want, feelings being hurt, what have you. So knowing what the result is, more likely than not, do you feel like as men we have a responsibility to just like dead it, or it is what it is, like we're all grown, or like given what you like know about it, should we like proceed? Should we have that like, well, I told you what it is, proceed with caution, I'm getting mine, or is like, no, I recognize you want more, I can give it to you, so I'm gonna create that boundary, or it doesn't matter?
I mean, I guess it really depends on the you know, your threshold for, you know, how it makes you feel when you hurt someone else's feelings, you know? Like, I don't know, some people just don't care. Like, we're all adults, presumably. Like, we're, you know, if every person in this situation is an adult, and we all make choices, and, you know, we are learning from them on both sides. And it's really, you know, for me, I would say that whoever is in that situation, you know, where you're not looking at something serious and someone tells you that they are, or you can tell they may not say it. I mean, I think there is a certain level of responsibility to just dead it and just say, like, let's move on as friends and not lead them on, because one, you're taking up their time to go find somebody serious. And that, to me, that's just not, you know, fair. Life isn't fair, but if you know that and you know you're not going to be serious with them, let them go and find somebody else. But from just a general standpoint, and save yourself the time and the backlash. It's just easy to get out soon and go meet somebody else that may be on the same page as you.
I feel you, man. You're right. Life isn't fair, especially because we got to wrap this up for now. So I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for sharing. I want to thank everyone that's been supporting this and listening to it. In the next episode, I'll talk about the differences between falling in love with someone and being with the right person. We'll explain why marriage is a choice, discuss the levels to the meaning of marriage, and uncover how different cultures can add an additional layer of complexity to a relationship. I really appreciate all the energy that people have been giving us. Continue to show love, continue to share with friends, and also please help us by giving us a rating and leaving a review. Let us know what you think. Let us know how we can get better. Holla at me at Think Love Wife on Instagram. We're also on Facebook. Let us know how we can make sure that this is more meaningful and beneficial for you. Thanks for listening, and I hope the conversation keeps going.